Miranda, the new book, Out of Time, tackles a tricky period described as the old age of youth and the youth of old age, your 40s, right?
Yes, exactly that. So the idea, it's a Victor Hugo quote. So he said that 40 is the old age of youth and 50 is the youth of old age. And so I look at the bit in between where you're a bit like, so what do I do now? I don't really know. I'm progressing to something and I'm not sure which I want to be there, and I don't quite know what to do.
It's a funny time, and especially because any attempt to kind of embrace something new or do something different can be read as, you know, people will mock it and say it's the sign of a midlife crisis. You know, if, I don't know, you get a piercing or start wearing leather leggings or, you know, a tattoo or whatever.
Exactly, a tattoo or Botox is a classic for women. I mean, men, it tends to be more, there's a kind of very male filter for the midlife crisis, and that's because it has traditionally been seen as a male thing. And so the traditional male midlife crisis is to buy a sports car, bin your wife, run off with somebody younger and start wearing a baseball hat. And the female equivalent is perhaps, you know, either you are divorced and you kind of start going out with younger people, or it's to do with grabbing your youth in another way, to do with looks. So getting Botox or being really skinny or making or wearing kind of young people's fashion. And both of those things essentially are chasing after youth, but you're seen to be a bit pathetic to do it. And, you know, despite the fact that we live in an intensely youthful society where youth is praised and extended for a really long time, actually, if you're seen as chasing after it, you're seen as a bit naff.
So what is the cause of the kind of classic midlife crisis? Is it culture? Is it nature?
I think it's a lot of things. I think it's your dreams, you know. I mean, not to be too kind of naff about it, we all have an idea of how we hope our lives will be like, or how we will be, and those dreams are very much encouraged, you know, especially in a capitalist society. Like, hey, have a dream, go for it, it's going to be great. But
live your dreams.
Yeah, live your dreams. Actually, it's really hard to live your dreams. It's really, really difficult, you know, and we're not very good at it. And to come to terms with the fact that your dreams, which kind of cast a light across the whole of your life, this is what I thought I might be doing, this is what I thought I was good at, this is what I thought I would achieve. If that's casting this light across your life and you feel like your life doesn't live up to it, then you're bound to feel bad about it, you know, and I think that's a really understandable feeling. You know, you can call it magical thinking, you know, the idea that you're going to play for Man United or whatever and you're not, or the idea that you're going to own a big pink house in the country, you know, or have 10 kids or be amazingly successful at art or something, and you're not. And to actually come to terms with that, you know, tends to happen in middle age.
I mean, I think it's a scary prospect. I mean, you wanted to write the book because you were kind of living it and going through it. What was that like? Did that make it harder or easier? Or
for me, I was trying to find a way of being in my life and being happy, you know, because obviously my life, you know, these are first world problems I'm talking about. Here I am, you know, talking to you. I have a lovely life from the outside, you know, and it is a lovely life. But just because you have a lovely life from the outside doesn't mean that you always feel great about it. And you have to work out a way of coping with the things. You know, adulthood generally requires a kind of energy that doesn't come natural to me. I'm quite an up and down, hyper kind of person. And adulthood, where you have to sit on the phone for an hour and a half to BT, or you have to read to a toddler, or they're reading to you and they still can't get that word, even though it's literally the word underneath the same word under there. Oh, God, kill me, no. Like, you have to work on a kind of a long-term, low-level energy, a kind of patience. You have to learn to stretch your patience and not take things so seriously. And that's a lesson that you need to learn, you know, and that's what I was trying to learn by reading about it and working out how to go out about my life, I suppose.
I suppose this generation of 40-somethings are dealing with that kind of age of distraction, the digital age, for the first time in a way that their predecessors, you know, the 40-somethings of yesteryear, didn't have to. So that must have an effect on it as well.
Yeah, I think so. Because maybe they would find it easier to be mindful because there wasn't kind of somebody going, oh, there's something over here.
Perhaps digital culture too, social media brings a new pressure.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I think there's definitely, you know, I spoke to a couple of psychotherapists, and one in particular told me that when he talks to his 40-something clients, and he definitely said there's a big dip in 40, that, you know, people definitely get a bit depressed in their 40s, that Facebook was a big problem. Because, and we all know why, because when you see what people put in Facebook is is a version of their life that they want to put on Facebook. So, you know, even if it's a kind of very dramatic, I'm really depressed life, but mostly in your 40s, people want to put up, like, my kids are doing really well, this is great, you know, here we are, up. And so you find yourself judging your insides by their outsides, because they're showing you they're having a great time with their kids, achieving amazingly, or they're on holiday or something, and you think, oh God, I feel really terrible, my kids were shouting at me. And so there's a kind of comparison factor, I think, with social media that can be difficult. Although, I would also say, in defence of social media, I've made a lot of friends through social media that I would not have done otherwise. And whenever I've actually, you know, on the rare occasions when I felt really low and said on social media, I feel really crap, people have been really kind. I mean, unbelievably kind. Even complete strangers on Twitter, unbelievably kind. So I'm not a kind of person who would say, oh, social media is a really bad thing.
It's good and bad, isn't it? It's just different.
Yeah, it's different. It's a different way of making friends and feeling connected, and that can be useful, I think.
One of the things that I found really interesting in the book, which was a smaller part of it as well, really, but a really interesting idea, is this idea that we don't like women being sad. In this culture. I just found that really, really interesting. It's you and Suzanne Moore are having a conversation halfway through the book, and you're talking about this feeling of kind of being depressed and, you know, thinking about getting older, menopause, all that kind of stuff. And Suzanne just says, you know, we just don't like women being sad.
We're not meant to be, we're meant to cope. And we told women are brilliant copers, we're brilliant multitasking, you know, centre of life, we're not meant to be sad. And it makes me think of all the women in the 1970s who were taking Valium. The equivalent now is what happens is if you get menopausal symptoms, there's a, you know, kind of time in your life which is called perimenopausal, and you get a few symptoms and you don't quite know, you know, have I got a thyroid problem or am I perimenopausal? So you go to the doctor, the GP, who gives you 6 minutes, and literally this happened to loads of my friends, and they go, yeah, that's fine, have some Prozac. Anyway, see you, bye. And they give you Prozac. They give you Prozac for the menopause, which is just unbelievable to me. You know, that's something that naturally happens to all women, and they medicate you so you're happy all the way through it.
Mm-hmm. What else were the things that you discovered in the book that were good kind of strategies, and techniques? Yeah,
I would say that. I think that the thing that I miss from my 20s, which is the kind of rush of it. You know, there's a thing that happens when you're young and discovering the world and getting a bit trolleyed in a way that I can't get trolleyed anymore, that you get a kind of proper rush of something happening, sparkliness, and it's
possibility,
amazing.
I suppose.
Yeah, and just kind of, you know, if you want to be a hippie, but it's like love, isn't it? You know, coming through. And it's quite hard if you're living a life where you have to maintain, which you do as a parent, and, you know, routine, which I find very hard. It's quite hard to find that rush. And an obvious way is getting out of your head, and I wouldn't really recommend that in your 40s. I've got no moral problem with it, but generally, you know, there's terrible stats around people in their 40s getting out of their heads. So you need to get out of your head in another way. You need to leave your life, get out of time in another way. And, you know, there's obvious things. Having sex is one, but, you know, maybe whoever you want to have sex with is miles away. You can't really do that. So I would say dancing is one, music's always one, and any form of kind of weirdly, a kind of live performance, I find. So if you go and see something, even if it's really terrible, actually sometimes, especially if it's really terrible, it takes you right out of it, because you get quite cross. You know, like, this is shit, and I'm better than that, and you kind of go home and, like, you know, unpick it. It's really great. And I find that going to gigs or spending a couple of hours on a dance floor, or, you know, reading on public transport, I find is really takes me somewhere else. You just have to make a little bit of time to do something like that, and that really helps, you know. And it sounds a little bit pathetic, it's quite small, but I'm a great believer in doing small things. You need to accept where you are.
Finally, I suppose, going through this process and writing the book, did it change your perspective on what your friends, your peers, and the people that you knew who'd reached this age had been through, and how they'd tackled it?
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, I've always found the thing that's nice about the book is I've had quite a lot of people say, oh, that's exactly what I was feeling, but I didn't realise or didn't dare say it. I mean, you know, there's a weird thing about a book that you offer it out like a little gift, and people might go, ugh, what a poo. And the thing that's quite nice is I offered it out as a little gift, and people were saying, oh, that's exactly how I feel, and that's all you want, because actually what you want is to know that there's a community of people who are feeling the same way. So it was quite weird. There was an article I wrote before I wrote the book, and it had a kind of, you know, those weird things that happen on the internet where they have another life for no reason, it's nothing to do with you, and it had another life. And I went to the Brit Awards, and everybody in the music industry was like, oh my God, that article, oh my God, that's happening to me, that's happening to me. And I kind of think, oh, that's good, because they were all, as far as I was concerned, immensely successful, you know, leaders of the industry, you know, and they were going, oh, that's exactly how I feel. And that's all you want, really, isn't it? You're offering a little bit of yourself in order to make a connection to other people. And if they say, yeah, that's how I feel, then you feel like, all right, it's a whole community of us all feeling like this, and that's okay. It's fine. We're all the same. We'll get through it together. That's all right.
There is like one guy that you meet at a music industry in the book who claims he's not having a midlife crisis, though. Yeah. He only makes a brief appearance, but he's one of my favourite guys.
Yeah, there are a few people who just literally have said to me, I'm not having a midlife crisis, and I'm going, so have you got a bike? Yeah, you go cycling every weekend, do you? That's nice. Yeah, okay, fine.
He's kind of sitting there with an earring.
Yes, oh God, yeah.
And a girlfriend who's 15 years younger than him.
Yeah, and he said, I don't believe in midlife crisis. Fine, mate, that's absolutely fine. Keep not believing.
Great, congratulations. Miranda, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I feel ready for the midlife crisis that I've been teetering on the verge of for quite a while now. I feel now that I can just dive into it head first.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm forearmed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.